Hi everyone, my name is Karen, this is my channel Rather Be Reading, and today I'm bringing to you my January wrap-up. It is the first wrap-up of 2020. I am changing up the way that I'm doing my wrap-up, so I kind of touched on that a little bit in my 2020 goals, but we will, as always, start off with the statistics, because that's not changing. I'm going to talk about my statistic first. So, I read a total of 26 books in the month of January. I also DNF'd a further 2, but I completed 26. The 26 books were made up of 23 novels and 3 novellas. I read 18 books in physical format, I read 4 ebooks, and I listened to 4 audiobooks. Excluding audiobooks, I read 17 books that I owned and 5 from the library. I'm really happy with that statistic. I read a total of 8,824 pages, which averaged out to 285 pages per day. Very happy with that statistic. The shortest book that I read was 22 pages. Like I said, I read 3 novellas this month, and they were all really short. Like, they were all in the 20-page range. The longest book that I read was 599 pages. I did read 2 books that were over 500 pages this month. The lowest star rating that I gave was a 2-star, and the highest star rating that I gave was I did give 2 different books 4.25 stars. And my average star rating for the month averaged out to 3.20 stars, which is very low for me. It's normally around the 3.4-ish type of range, I think, in the 3.3 to 3.4 type of range. So to get it to 3.2, and it wasn't that I don't think that I was reading really crap books. Although at the beginning of the month, I read the entire Trill trilogy, which I didn't rate. There were 3 novellas and 3 books, and none of it got above a 2.5. So that dragged my average down. But then I was also reading just a lot of 3 star books this month. So it is what it is. So the next thing I want to talk about, so I previously have listed every book that I've read in the month and just given you the star rating. I'm not going to do that. If you want in-depth reviews for the books that I've read throughout the month, you can check out my recent reads videos that cover the time period of January. But I am going to just give you my least favorite and most favorite book of the month. So my least favorite book of the month would be basically the Trill trilogy as a whole, but probably the novellas. I don't think I have a least favorite. Well, the first and the second novella. The third one was a little bit better, but I didn't love that whole trilogy. It's a YA trilogy about a girl who discovers that she's a troll princess. It is what it is. I didn't think it was particularly great. I didn't hate it, but it just was what it was. And that was probably my least favorite of the month. And my favorite of the month, this was hard, because I gave 2 books to 4.25 stars, and they were pretty close. And if you asked me on a different day, maybe I would give a different answer, but I've decided that my favorite one for the month was Night Film by Marisha Pessl. I just really enjoyed my experience with reading that one. The creepy, atmospheric vibe to that story, I just really enjoyed. So that was my favorite of the month. So I also decided I wanted to check back in on my monthly TBR and talk about whether I read all of the books that were on my TBR for the month. Because I find that fun when people look at, these are the books that are on my TBR, did you actually read them? Because I consider myself to be someone who is pretty good about reading the books that I say each month that I'm going to read, but it's still rare that I get through everything. So let's chat about that. So the first category of books I have on my TBR is library books, and the library books that I had on my TBR video this month were A Million Worlds with You by Claudia Gray, Enticed by Jessica Shervington, and North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. And I read all of those, so that was a success. Can't talk. My physical TBR books that I had on my TBR this month were The Trill Trilogy by Amanda Hocking, Night Film by Marisha Pessl, The Graces by Law Eve is the one that I pulled out of my TBR teacup, and I read all of those. That was another successful category. And then ebooks. I had one NetGalley arc, which was The Leaving Party by Leslie Sanderson, which I did read. And then I had 2 Kindle backlist books, Hunted by Megan Spooner, which I did read, and then The Silent Child by Sarah A. Denzel, which I didn't get to. So that kind of happened because I got approved for quite a few NetGalley arcs in the late part of December and, well, all throughout kind of January. And because of that, I'm trying to be better about getting, one of my things this year is I want to really be better about getting to my NetGalley arcs in a timely fashion within around the time that they get published. And so I'm trying to prioritize them over my Kindle backlist books. And I had quite a few that were coming out in like January. So I read, I think like 3 or 4 NetGalley arcs this month. I think I read 4 NetGalley arcs. So I didn't get to Silent Child, but I did get to all of the NetGalley books that I needed to this month. So they weren't on my TBR, but I did get to them. So I'm still happy with that. And then the audiobooks that I had on my TBR this month were The Things We Keep by Sally Hepworth, House of Salt and Sorrows by Erin A. Craig, and The Near Witch by Victoria Schwab, which I'm calling a success because I read The Things We Keep and House of Salt and Sorrows, and I did attempt to read The Near Witch. It was one of my DNFs this month, but I did attempt it, so I'm calling that a win. So I'm pretty happy with that. Out of everything on my TBR this month, there was only one book I didn't get to, which was Silent Child by Sarah A. Denzel. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. So I just thought it would be fun to kind of go over the books that are on my TBR and whether I got to them or not. So the next thing I want to talk about in my wrap-ups is my Around the Year in 52 Books reading challenge. I had mentioned in my goals, I asked you guys whether you were interested in hearing about my goals and how I was doing on them on a month-by-month basis. And I think like one person said they wanted to know, and so I'm going to do it. I'm not going to say what the prompts are that I completed because I do end up changing things around. Sometimes I'll read a book that fills a prompt that I already had checked off, but the book that I had checked in there can check off another category, and so I end up moving things around quite a bit. So I'm just going to say how many of the challenges I completed for each month and like what my total is as we go on throughout the year. And then I'll do my overall wrap up like I do each year. So I'm not going to say what the prompts are that I completed, just how many. So in January, I checked off 15 prompts. I am really, really happy with that. That'd have to be probably the most amount I've ever checked off in a month. Yes, quite often at the beginning of the year, I check off, like, because there's quite a few that are just, like, very easy to check off, you know, ones that are just about read a book that's, you know, between 400 and however many pages. I can check off that so easily. Like, there's a lot of, like, the easy ones that I check off, and then I end up getting left with the slightly more difficult to achieve ones, and so it'll definitely be a lot less in future months that I check off, but I did complete a total of 15 this month, which is a really, really, really solid start. I only probably needed to complete 4 or 5 this month to be on track, and I completed 15, so I'm super happy with that. And then the last thing I want to talk about in these wrap-ups video is how I'm doing on my ultimate 2020 goal, which is the goal to reduce my TBR to below 400 books. So let's talk about it. My TBR total at the very start from 1 January 2020 was 439 books. I read a total of 10 books off my physical TBR this month, which I'm super, wow, that was a sharp S. I was super happy with. I don't know if I've ever read that many off my physical TBR in a month before, and it worked out that way this month, and I'm really happy with it. When I do my statistic and you see me say that I read 17 books that I own, I include my Kindle books that I own, my NetGalley arcs that I consider that I own. I include all of those in like books that I own, so that's why that statistic doesn't quite marry up. But off my physical TBR, 10 books, which I'm really happy with. Now, books that I bought in this month that add to my TBR, spoilers for my January book haul. I'm not going to tell you each month what the books are. I'm just going to tell you how many I brought in, and then you'll have to wait till my book haul to see what they are. 0. I think it's the first month ever on my channel that I didn't buy a single physical book. Well, that's kind of not true. I placed my first order to Book Depository for the year, but right at the end of January, like I think I did it yesterday or the day before. So those books won't be coming into my possession until February. So I'm not going to count them until I actually receive them and they actually go on to my TBR. But don't worry, my January book haul still has things in it. I've still got the library books, but mainly I've got a lot of ebooks and like NetGalley arcs to talk about in my haul this month. But so there is still stuff to haul, but I didn't actually bring in any physical books, which means my TBR total at the end of January is 429. So I'm really, really proud of that number. It was great to get like start off that goal for the year like really successfully, because I don't imagine that I'm going to bring it down by anywhere close to that number in future months, because almost every other month I'm at least going to have like 1 or 2 books coming in, like at a minimum probably. And 10 was a really large number for me to get through. I don't typically get through that many off my physical TBR, but it was a really great start. It's given me a really good jump start to hopefully achieve that goal. So yeah, I'm really, really happy with that. So that's it. Those are all the kind of things that I wanted to go over in my wrap up for the month. I'd love to chat with you guys down below about what you guys have been reading this month and how you guys did in your January reading month. Let me know how you feel about kind of the format of this type of wrap up of all the different things I'm talking about, whether you're interested in hearing about those or whether you're not, or whether there's anything else in particular that you would really like to hear about. Let me know and I'll see like what I can do to kind of work these around to a format that really works for everyone. But yeah, I would love to chat in the comments down below. Please like this video if you liked it. Please subscribe if you want to see more from my channel. That is all I have for this video today. Bye guys.